Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on Journalist Talk. I'm your host, Bea Barros, and today I have Jorge Flores. He's a public speaker and bilingual content specialist at Unidos US. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I congratulate you already on your podcast. It's the first time I'm here at season, so I think it's a special day.
There we go. We're making memories today.
For real.
I would like to ask you to give us a brief biography about yourself. We know journalists cannot be brief, so just tell us what my listeners should know about yourself.
Of course, yes. So just like you said, right now I am a public speaker. What I do is that I present on different topics regarding personal branding, leadership, public speaking, precisely, to high school and college students. Usually I get invited to go to these leadership forums here at the US, in Mexico and Latin America. Right now, after COVID-19, we learned that we can just connect with everybody, whoever we want, right, through Zoom. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years, getting this participation on these forums virtually. But I'm a journalist, and what I do right now as a content specialist at Unidos US is that we advocate for Latinos across the country. We have different programs from health, economics, politics, and what we're trying to do is that we are promoting our programs towards our community, and more than just literacy or helping them out on understanding the most important issues that they are affecting our community in the country, is more about how can we empower the people so they know what they should know, but also here are the tools for you to get some action, to put some feet on the ground. I was born and raised in Mexico. So I came here to the States 5 years ago, like you said, and now that I'm getting to know you, Beatriz, by myself. My family still lives in Mexico, most of my family, and it's just that process as an immigrant, getting to a new country, trying to get the best out of your possibilities, and step by step. So I graduated from Clase Fullerton. I got very involved with the NHJ, being the president of my chapter at CSUF, and later on I became the NHJ student representative, overseeing more than 20 plus chapters that we have across the country. So I love leadership. I love interviewing people. I love getting to connect with other communities and get to know their leaders, what they're trying to do. And finally, advocating. I think that's the mission that I have up to this moment. So I know that was like a long biography already, but that's a little bit of what I think I do.
Yeah, I guess that was one of the shortest we had.
Oh, perfect. Look at that. I'm glad.
Yeah, but can we expand a little bit on your work at Unidos US? It's very interesting how you are always, right now you are just clicking on advocating, and I know that a few years ago, I would say, there was this new term like advocated journalist, something like that. And I would like to say, do you feel like that's a very good representation of yourself? And which tools do you give to these people that you were just mentioning?
That's a great question. Yes, of course, I think I consider myself as an advocate journalist. I know that, first things first, I got my major in political science and a minor in communications. But I do have my different partners along the way, friends in journalism, in the industry that, of course, they tell me it's really hard to be an advocate and at the same time a journalist, right? Because we have the most basic debate on, we got to stay unbiased. Right? There's no red, there's no blue. We gotta be
objective.
Correct. and I gotta tell you, of course, it's hard. I mean, coming from a community of color as Latinos, at least in my perspective, was really hard since the beginning. So yes, I consider myself an advocate journalist. The reason why is that, and I think we were talking a little bit before starting the podcast, Beatriz, in our community as Hispanics, we have the responsibility to inform our community, but there's a specific case within the Hispanic community that more than just inform, we need to give the tools. So we know what happened with the midterms in 2022 last year, and we know how everyone talks about how Latinos, we participate a lot, but maybe there should be some kind of guidance towards, why are you voting red? Or why are you voting blue? And most of the answers are, because my dad, my mom, they vote blue. They have been voting blue for the past 20 years. That's why I'm voting blue. Well, we need more than that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
do you really understand the policies that candidates are trying to propose? Do you like the candidates or do you like the proposals? Do you like the impact that they have in your local community? That's where I enter, right? So as Unidos US, writing that content is to let people know, okay, this is our issue in the political spectrum in our country, and these are some of the tools. How do you want to engage with your community? Well, we have some people that they tell us, well, I know that my responsibility is to vote. Excellent. All right, so we're gonna give you your local policy elected official where you can get a conversation with that person. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is that, okay, we're informing, but we're also giving you some ways in which you can engage, and not only just being a passive participant of society, but actually, okay, do you want to participate? Let us know, and we're going to put you on the debate, right? And we're going to put you as protagonists in that conversation.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Because as Latinos, we know how family and like heritage and all this thing, like being very in sync with your family is very important. So that's why sometimes people are like, they do that for 20 years, I'll do like for 30 more. But at the same time, it's so important to have like different views. I mean, I can go through whatever like my mom says and whatever, but I live in another age. I have a different mentality. I cannot just do whatever was done 20
Totally.
years ago. Yeah, and I think that it's very important to teach them and show the tools and say like, hey, you have like a chance to give your opinion about whatever you want.
Yeah.
And show your voice.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, and
That's
more
great.
in our generation, right, Beatriz? I mean, we are, most of us millennials or Gen Z, and we understood that what worked in the past, it's not going to work today. And probably our children, they're not going to be working with the same policies as we work today.
Yeah.
And we can talk about environmentalist policies, the political spectrum, how unfortunately every single year it's more polarized. So we have more people who they are more blue and more people who they are more red, but there's no moderate. There's no a big moderate population. Maybe we are the solution. Maybe we're the ones that instead of just going red or blue, we're kind of like this purple, if you want to call it like that, and just picking what we think it's best for the country. I know I'm too into politics right now, but that's what I do, right? Once again, we were just talking about advocacy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we inform, but there should be something else rather than just saying, okay, these are your options.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I called you. It's just so you can like openly talk about yourself, your work, things that you're proud of that you've been doing and change lives of like a bunch of
Right.
young minds. And I just wanted to talk also about your role with NHJ, which I think it's very important as well, because if we have more NHJ in the schools and everything, I feel like people would feel more supported, more journalists would feel supported, because like I told you before we started recording, I feel so supported by my friends and board members that are like, you know what, you're Brazilian, you speak Portuguese, but you're a Latina. You should be like a board member. You should be included. And that makes me feel so happy and accepted here that it's great. Can you talk more about your job?
Totally. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I came here to the States, and I was getting more involved once again because like my life is just between leadership, politics, and communications. When I began my journey at Castle Fullerton, the first 2 weeks, as any other college student, I mean, you are frightening, right? You are so nervous because you know no one at school. And the first week, I heard someone talking about NHJ, and a dear friend of mine, invited me to come to one of their meetings. Well, long story short, when I was there, because I was Latino, even though I didn't feel part of that community of CSUF because it was like my first week, they were so welcoming and they were just embracing the fact that we are familia, right? That we are family. So that was like the first session that I attended, and they were so they got like this warm welcome towards me. They were even like hugging me and like, hey, how are you doing, Jorge? Like, we hope that you enjoy your your stance here at the NHA at CSUF, and we hope to continue seeing you later on for the next weeks. So I was just a regular member. But once again, we need some initiative within ourselves. So next semester, I was like, well, I want to be part of the board. I want to see what we do, right? So as I was getting more responsibility in these leadership positions at CSUF, I was very involved as well on giving the voice to Latino students or just NHA students across the country. And most of the people, they don't know, but I mean, we have, every year we have elections at NHA, and the position for the NHA student rep opens every year. So I got into this election process. I was contacting every single NHA student across the country that I knew. And I was very random and I was very intentional. I was emailing people and I was like, well, I know you don't know me, but I am a candidate. I'm a candidate for the NHA student rep position. I don't know if you want to chat a little bit. Once again, this was during the pandemic, so we were just through Zoom. And at the end, I got the position as the NHA student rep. So what was my job? Number one, bring more diversity to NHA. We have the LGBTQ community. We have also Afro-Latino community. And I'm more than glad that we have people who, even though they don't speak Spanish, they identify themselves as Latino. And I was like, excellent. That's what we need. So we need more diversity. So I started collaborating to creating more panels towards this. And number two, as the NHA student rep, I strengthened this capacity of having a student committee. So I knew that we needed more representation from our fellows in Florida, our fellows in the East Coast, Northwest, the West Coast, right? So I had this student committee. We were working on different panels, and we even have these monthly cafecitos. So one of this idea was just to chat. I mean, we had like 20, half an hour, maybe an hour, just discussing, okay, how's your semester going? And we had some people, they were like, Jorge, terrible. Like, I don't even know what's going on with my life. It's just terrible. I want to get some coffee right now. Please get it. It was on Saturdays. And we had this community. We had this bonding. So during 1 year, we were just enjoying the fact that even though we were through Zoom, we had the opportunity to feel identified with their experience and your experience, right? We're just sharing our process as a college student journalist. And finally, at the end of all of these activities that we were doing, was to get more participation in conference as well. Because the NHA conference is this premier event that we have every year. And last year was in Vegas. So imagine we were just so happy that after a year of working together virtually, we had the opportunity to be in person. So we hugged each other. And once again, we made sure that Familia is everywhere. And I think that's just like summarizes a little bit of the work that I did as a student rep. Now, what I do is that I'm advocating once again for college students.
Always advocating.
So what I'm doing is just participating in the summits, right? Getting along with new student journalists who they want to be part of NHA. And we are trying to promote this in community colleges. That's the vision for this next year, that we can get more community college students who they're like, okay, I know I am just in this journey of 2 years before transferring. Well, we want to make sure that those 2 years, journalism or communications is your passion, grabbing the NHA and grabbing what the NHA offers to you.
Yeah. Whoa. That was beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand the cafecitos because in our group here at Season, we usually bring soda, water, snacks, but we get like, whoever's Mexican, Mexican snacks, this other Latino snacks. The other day I brought like Brazilian snacks. And
Great. I love that.
And yeah, me and Lupita, we were like, oh no, but this thing we have like kind of a variant in Mexico. That's cool. That's nice. And you get to know like people even like through their food, which is really nice. So those cafecitos, they really help us.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and can we talk a little more about the summit? Me and my club, we had Jorge once this semester already just to talk to the students. But then we finally met in person this Saturday. So can you talk a little bit more about your experience in the summit this Saturday? What did you see that it was really nice, people getting the information, going after what they want?
You said it perfectly, Beatriz. Networking, right? I think sometimes as journalists, we focus a lot on our development, which I think is great, and what kind of opportunities these summits brings to us, right? We are waiting to get to know that employer, that recruiter, and to impress that person, get an opportunity, right? Grab an opportunity and be like, yes, that's why I came to the summit, right? Because at the end of it, I want to get an internship. I want to get a job. And I love that. Besides that, my favorite part of it is networking. So actually getting to know that person that you see on social media that is doing great. You're like, oh, I love his content or I love her content, right? And at the end be like, I have you in person. Of course, I got to talk to you. I got to say, hey, how did you produce this content? Because I love it. Every single time I open Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, I see you. And that humbleness of that other person, that this happens in every NHA summit or at any event from NHA, something that we always try to do is to have that relationship that more than just professionals, we're friends. So if you want to know something about what I do, of course I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you the techniques. I'll tell you the tips, right? And I think that at the end of the summit, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of students, and they were just telling the same thing, right? Like, oh, I thought this person was going to be like super professional, super serious. But now like I just added that person on Instagram and like literally like my best friend. And now I'm going to talk to him about like what else can I do and maybe any advice that he has on my resume or my demo reel or whatnot, my production. So that's what I love. I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I feel like most of being a journalist is being like a networker, because wherever you go, you're always networking. If you're not going to be just a friend, you have like someone that you know that can be interviewed for that thing, or someone that did that project that you're interested in. So journalists, they are always networking. I feel like this is one of the keywords that we have, like in our profession. That's it.
I think it's like soft skills on your resume. Okay, yeah, networker. Like, yes, correct.
For sure, yeah. And I guess one of the most important questions to ask you, how did you ended up here in the U.S.?
I know.
How? Why? When? We want to know all the details.
Yeah, I've got no idea. No, I'm kidding. Like, I don't know why I'm like doing it. No, I mean, the thing is that, well, yes. So 5 years ago, I was finishing my high school in Mexico. I was born and raised in Monterrey, which is this northern city, maybe 6-7 hours from Houston, Texas. Okay. So it's in the north of Mexico. I was perfectly fine. Like I had my friends. I was studying, getting into like the most prestigious universities in Monterrey. So I was very comfortable. Thankfully, I was very blessed by God, and I got my family, my friends, and whatnot. However, on summer of 2017, and this is like the reality. I'm not like faking anything. Like I didn't know I had this aunt living here in LA. I didn't know. She just called my family, and what a coincidence that I was the one picking up the phone at my place, and I was like, who's this? And she's like, I'm your aunt. And I was like, what the heck? I was like,
I never heard about you.
I'm like, no, for real? I didn't. And I was like, I think this is kind of like spam or scam. Like, I don't even know if it's like a real person. And then I talked to my dad, and it's from my dad's family. And he was like, oh, yeah, no, it's your aunt, tu tia. And I was like, oh, okay. Then I was like, yeah, okay. So tell me, what do you need? And she was like, well, no, I just want to like visit you guys. Like, I was also born in Monterrey, but she's been living here in the U.S. for more than 30 years. So, I mean, practically she's American. I mean, all her life she's living here in L.A. Now she lives in Vegas. But, well, at the time, she visited our family that summer of 2017, and she was very motivated to somehow encourage my family to live in the U.S. as well. Because, of course, you know, I mean, there's nonstop violence in Mexico and insecurity and whatnot. I mean, it's been always part of it.
Plus the opportunities that you guys would have here.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So you know the deal, right? So she was very encouraging us to live in the U.S. But my family, they were kind of like, well, I mean, we are very comfortable here. Like, we don't want to move. But I was the only one who was like, I'll go. Yeah. I was like, if you want to, I can try. And my mom, she was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, I thought in the moment that I was going to be living here in the U.S. for, I don't know, 6 months or whatever, like on vacation. Or I was like super happy. I was 17. I was like, yeah, let's do it. My mom, she was like, well, but you got to finish school. And my aunt, she was like, well, you can finish it here in the U.S. You can finish your high school. I was like, okay. So I didn't really care at the moment. I was like, let's do it just because. Maybe something good got to happen. And when I came here to the States in summer 2017, before leaving into the airport in Monterrey, I was very nervous. So I was just like, well, now I'm not sure if I want to do this. And my mom, she was like, well, there's no going back. So for sure you're going. And I was like, Mom, I don't want to do this anymore. So at the end, it was kind of like she pushed me to, hey, you said yes. So now, like, you got to finish it. I was like, all right. I came here to the States, and this is like my personal experience. I was very excited, and at the same time I felt into this loneliness that I didn't really know anyone at the moment. But something shocked me like 2-3 weeks after I came here to the States. Of course, when my mom, she was calling me on FaceTime, she was like, how are you doing? I was like, amazing. I was like, living my best life. Don't worry about me. I'm doing great. And then after we hang up, I was like almost crying. I was like, what am I doing here? I don't know anyone. Why am I finishing high school here if I had all my friends in Mexico, right? So after that shock, I don't know, something in myself told me like, well, I mean, there's always a purpose. I don't know how, but I just got so motivated after that. And I was like, okay, you know, if we have a purpose, if I love communications, if I love politics, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity being here in the US. All right. So my mindset just changed and I started interviewing politicians, creating my own project when I was like 17, 18 years old. Nothing official. I was just like posting on social media. I was very passionate. And when I got into community college, I continued developing public speaking skills. I started giving these speeches because I'm a public speaker, right? I started giving these presentations to high school students. I got so much empowerment after that experience that later on, after 2-3 years passed, I was confident of who I was and what I want to do. So when I was at CSUF, I got enrolled into this communications class, Al Dia, which was like our broadcast. And I love being in front of camera, right? So that was like my passion. That was something super sweet. That was a soft transition. I loved it. So I continue producing that content on social media, giving the news, right? Just sharing the news to our community, the Latino community, bilingual. I was majoring in political science. I was minoring in communications, but I always knew that we gotta have the initiative to try something new, right? And to risk it. So I was into the NBC applications for internships on summer 2020. And I applied to every single application that I saw. I believe I applied to 50 applications. I got rejected 48 of those.
That's normal for a
right?
journalist, I would say.
I think that there's a moment that we need to accept a rejection, right? And instead of us just feeling defeated and be like, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore, you should try it once again, and once again, and once again. I got accepted to these two, and the first one that I got was in Miami, Florida. So I loved I had the opportunity to go, but since we were in pandemic, I did it remotely, right? So I was like, okay, kind of like, I was kind of bugged. I was like, oh, I wish I could be like in Miami and like having all the experience. But thankfully, that led me to another internship in San Diego. I took that internship. I was there for 6 months, I believe. And then they offered me that position for story producing. So I became story producer. I did that for a few months. But once again, I had something in myself that was telling me, boo, we need to advocate, right? Politics. We need the Latino community to know what they're going to be voting for. So then I transitioned into Unidos US. And now here we are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey. Yeah. 5 years. Just time flies.
Yeah. I don't think I can relate to your like super homesickness because I was always like, Mom, I want to go. I'm going to go when I'm in high school. And then I didn't have the opportunity in high school. And my mom was like, I think my company is going to open something. They might want me to go there. Like, let's start looking for colleges. I found CSUN. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. We came, we visited. I was like, yes, I want to do like at least 6 months, the same 6 months that every Latino says to their family, which is never like, never 6 months.
It's never 6 months, no. You were going to stay for sure, like for the rest of your life.
And then like, I was like, okay, I can do like the SEC program, which is just like semester at CSUN. And then I was like, okay, halfway through my semester, I started the process of transferring my credits from my Brazilian university to here because I had put it on hold for a semester. And then I just talking to Mom, I was like, Mom, so, I did it. I kind of want to stay. I hope that you like support me and it's gonna be like, always hyping me up to do everything that I want so that I can follow my dreams. And
I love that.
5 years later, I'm still here. I'm getting my master's already, and that's like.
And congrats for that too.
Thank you. And it's such a like proud moment to my mom. Like, does she get mad or like, sad that I always like wanted to be here and that I want to be here, that I'm not homesick at all? For sure. But but she's seeing me do all of these things and achieve all the things that I've ever wanted. So I guess like that's very rewarding for her.
Totally. I bet she's so proud.
I hope so.
Yeah. She should.
That's what I'm trying to do. Hey listeners, I have a great news for you. I'm here to incentivize you to create your own podcast just like me. I couldn't think of a better partner than Buzzsprout, and I recommend them for you as a beginner in podcasting. Buzzsprout can help you with publishing your own podcast in every major platform such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. They also automatically publish on your personalized website, and they give you all the statistics in detail that you want. To start your own podcast and to win a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the instructions on the link in my show notes. If I can do it, you can do it too. Good luck on creating your very own podcast. And I also wanted to talk to you about your articles that you publish at Pro Network MS.
Oh, yeah. Wow, okay, yes, I love that.
Yeah. I don't know if you got to this part in my other episodes, but I do like digital like research on my guests.
I love that.
LinkedIn, Instagram, Linktree,
wow.
everything.
Wow.
And I saw that most of the articles, they are very much empowering.
Yeah.
They are about leadership and
Yeah.
all these things. Where do you find different topics to talk about in those articles? Because, sometimes can get repetitive, but somehow you do like really well. I read it.
Thanks so much. But I love reading. I think that it was a habit that I didn't really practice 2 years ago. But once again, I think like for some people, the pandemic was just like a horrible experience. In my experience, thankfully, it was a blessing. I really like to try to discover new topics about productivity and leadership and motivation and personal development. So I started reading a little bit more about like those kind of topics. So that's how I somehow get inspiration from writing for those articles. That because I love reading. I don't know. I have like this goal that every single year from now on, I need to read 10 books for sure.
There you
so
go.
These are like, okay, at least every single month I gotta start a new book. So if there is a concept that I see in a book, I don't know, personal transformation or retention of attention, daily basis or whatever, I like to just highlight it and be like, okay, I want to research a little bit more on this concept and how we can actually get some tips or advice to put them into practice. Because I think most of the times when we read articles, it's very, it involves a lot of theory. So you get to know the concept, but you don't really know how to put it in your life, right? So I'm kind of like against that. I'm like, okay, yes, I love the theory. I know that, wow, I learned this concept that I think it's fabulous, but how can I actually put it into practice? So I always like to give like 3 or 4 tips on how to get that. And I love those topics. I mean, productivity, it's something that I love reading, that I'm like, okay, if at work, I know that I have like 3 or 4 meetings per day. How can I maximize the 20-minute meeting that we have in the next couple of hours? How can I advance the tasks that I need to do in order for me to be, okay, in my to-do list, there's nothing else I need to do. I love that. So I love productivity, I love the leadership, and I love empowering through specific parts of our daily life, whether that just talks about your professional life, how to get more organized, or how to, I don't know, from getting a Google Calendar and how you can get advantage of what the app offers, things like that.
Yeah. I'm not a Google Calendar type of person. I can't. If it's not like in my agenda, my physical one, it's never happening. I'm gonna forget about it.
I think there's different styles too. Maybe your style is more creative.
Yeah. Oh yeah, probably.
I'm very much like a box. Like I have like 1,000 colors in my calendar telling me like, oh, this is a meeting, this is a task, this is family gathering. I don't know.
Yeah, mine is just like, oh, let me go after it. Because, I'm very crafty, by the way. Yeah, maybe it's the creative thing in me.
Well, that's good. Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah, but I get a lot of this searching for things to do in the pandemic. Because I was, I think everybody hit a little bit of a rock bottom in the pandemic somehow. But, it's good to always, like, come up. And I was always trying to find, like, different courses that I could do. Good. I even did one in Ancient Masterpieces at Harvard University.
Hey, okay.
I was like, oh, okay. I had to read, like, those big books and, like, reading about like super ancient stuff and their theories and everything. I was like,
That's way interesting.
okay, yeah.
Right?
My mom was like, why are you doing an ancient masterpiece? I was like, you know that I want to use this side of cultural, like in my journalism? Because I feel like entertainment journalism, there's so much more than celebrity, that I want to bring like ancient masterpieces. Like I feel like museums, you can find like the most crazy thing ever and nobody talks about it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I might have access to like give these people history about things that happen, things that exist, and we don't even know about it.
And that's so cool.
I love it.
Like, I think some people, they find it like nerdy, but I'm like, hey, boy, I'm like, no, learn about this. I mean, you're going to be like mind blowing and you're going to be like, wow, okay.
Right?
I don't know, so many things to learn from museums.
It's
books,
not
whatever.
every day that you're like, oh, let me go here and read the Iliad or Homer or whatever. But I had to do it, and it was really cool because they gave us the books and everything. So like this search for not purpose but something to do and something to learn and talk, I feel like it's so communicator stuff.
Yeah.
Because we are always trying to tell people, like, did you know about that? Because like I have this information here. Yeah, it was really helpful reading some of those, even though I don't like much like self-help type of things, you know. I'm always like, I'm kind of
skeptic. Yeah, skeptical. I know. Like, no. Before the pandemic, I was like, when I love going to Barnes and Noble.
Oh,
I love it, right? It's
stop
just like your world, right? And you are like super interested. I get like my coffee, and I'm like, wow, okay, I want to see like new books. And I remember when I was passing like through like the personal growth section, I was like, maybe it's gonna be a scam. They're gonna tell you like how to be happy in 3 words or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't believe that. I don't know what happened. But I mean, during the pandemic, I was like, at least I'm going to try one of those books. I started reading and I was like, okay, this is my new passion. Like, I love putting into practice small details of life that we can take advantage from. And actually, they can turn your life, or at least your perspective of life, into a more positive way.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me out throughout the pandemic. Maybe that's why I look at it as
good.
It was a blessing for me instead of just like, it was really bad. Because I mean, of course, it was really bad. But I mean, for millions of people. But I mean, from your personal outlook, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, maybe my listeners are here like as witnesses. I'm going to give it a try to one book.
I love that.
And
All right.
one book only. If you have any tips and tricks, where should I start? I'll read it.
Leave your recommendations. We'll wait for
I want
those.
your recommendation.
Oh, for sure. I'll give you one. I'll give you one.
Perfect. And just so we can wrap up a little bit our conversation, which is like, it's so good talking. I feel like we're having super nice conversation.
I love it.
Tell me a little more about your public speaking personality. Where did it begin? How did you achieve everything that you've been achieving with public speaking?
I love that question just because, I mean, I think that's how everything started in my life. When I was 11 years old, back in Mexico, I was invited to this public speaking contest. So I was like just a kid, right? I was like 11 years old. But you know how we're kids, right? We love talking and speaking and talking for hours and just like blah, 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 blah to our moms. And like at class, I was interrupting sometimes like my professors, my teachers back then. And they were like, Jorge, I think this contest is just perfect for you. And I was like, what do I need to do? Talk. I was like, oh, awesome. I was like, all right, where do I sign up? And I got this amazing public speaking teacher, and I just love like the techniques that we use, changing the tone of our voice, speaking quickly and then stop, those pauses. For me, that was so artistic. I was like, wow, like it's so amazing for me how words, they have an impact. So the topic that I chose, it was something related to how can we change our future from a young age. Like, again, right? For the million times, yes, advocating. So I was so curious about it. And I was like, how can I have this unique style to empower my peers, my audience? So I practiced several times that speech, and I got the opportunity to share that speech with, I think it was like 50 other students who they were also contestants at this public speaking contest. And I won. At the end, they were just sharing, third, second, first place, and I got the first place, and I was like, and I felt so happy that I was like, I'm so satisfied that with this speech, I can empower other people to be better or to achieve their goals. So that was the moment that it clicked. I was like, perfect. All right, this is going to be my passion. Year after year, I started getting into this public speaking contest. Year after year. I did that straight like 4 years. So after school, between 5 to 7 p.m., I was practicing for this contest. That crazy I was for this public speaking contest. More than just winning, because I was like, I mean, of course, that's cool. Getting out there, right? And overcoming this fear of public speaking, because I think that's what we all fear, right? When we're presenting at a class, we're just like, I don't want to say something stupid because they're going to be like, what the heck with this guy, right? So I was like, no, I want to overcome that fear. So after those 3 years, I was like, all right, besides just public speaking contest, I want to be a public speaker. I want to continue empowering other students. So I began going to high schools, knocking the door. I want to give a speech to our students. I was telling these other professors that I didn't even know, administrative people from other schools. And they were like, all right, that's kind of weird that you want to give a speech. But for sure, yeah, I mean, there's tomorrow 4 p.m. We have a class. Are you willing to come? Yes, I'll go. And I was sacrificing my time after school and getting into a taxi or a cab, whatever, and going to that high school. So passionate about it. So I did that for some years. And thankfully, I got the opportunity to be in leadership forums and whatnot. They started inviting me. They're saying paying for me to talk to their students. I loved it. That's my passion. I came here to the States. I continue doing the same thing. And right now, I had the opportunity to be speaking to more than 50,000 students up to this moment, and teachers and parents. I'll continue doing that until the day I die.
Yeah. Look at the story that you can tell to the 11-year-old kid who wanted to just do something.
Right.
That's a story to tell him.
Yeah.
I bet he would be proud.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
Maybe he'll cry.
Maybe a little.
I love that.
Yeah, and just like my fun question at the end, which advice would you give to a journalist who wants to start advocating, but it's too afraid because journalism, it's unbiased?
Right.
Gotcha that one.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm like, okay. I think like for the first time in the podcast, there was like a pause, like.
Yes.
Are they going for commercials? No, he's just thinking how to respond to this question. Well, I think there's always clever ways of advocating. We don't need to just express ourselves heavily about what we think is right for our community, but there's always clever ways. For example, if we're talking about elections, of course we're not gonna tell people, hey, like these red people are trying to. Of course not. We're not just gonna like point out people and be like, hey, these are the wrong people, and blue is correct, or vice versa. Red is good, blue is bad. But if we start displaying the ground with the facts, I think it's very easy today to differentiate what's good and what's bad for your community. I don't think we need to dig that much, if that makes sense. So if we know that this candidate, he or she is not good for our country, we can just display the facts. I believe at least 3/4 of the population, of the Hispanic population, or whoever is a journalist, will understand that what we're trying to say is just like, okay, be careful who you're going to be choosing for the next 4 years. Advocating, I think, is just a responsibility for every journalist, because nowadays we have so much misinformation and we cannot just speak in a lower tone. Well, these are the facts. We need to be very vertical, very intentional. Like, hey guys, these are the facts. And the guy that you said, or like on social media, you see that he's an angel, he's not. These are the facts, right? I think like most of us as journalists, we think like, oh, well, if we're speaking bad about this guy, we should also be speaking bad about this other guy in the same article. No, there's no obligation for you to talk about this other guy if your article focuses on this guy and why he's being a bad politician. So I think we just need to take out those kind of practices that old journalism has given us in the past years. Journalism has changed, and we understand that any citizen, if you have a camera and you point out at a crash or whatever, you are a journalist already. You're a citizen journalist, and you post it on social media. They know what's going on in your community. Well, you are a journalist. So I don't think it's bad for you to be more intentional on what you want to express to the community. I think now it's very easy to just display facts and for them to know what's good and bad. So I don't think it's that hard, but it's just about taking those practices of old school out of your way.
Wise words, and whoever wanted to do advocating, here you go, how to start it.
Yes.
Plus read the books.
Yes, very important, very important.
Yeah, but unfortunately our time ended, and Jorge, muchas gracias por estar aquí.
Yeah, I loved it. Thanks
Yeah.
so much once again for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. And all for you guys that are listening to the podcast, don't forget to check our Facebook, leave the comments, like every post. And also, other information and websites are going to be in my show notes, so don't miss that. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.